to understand this, first of all, we have to know what is this good people. So this good can be an ambiguous thing. What is good for me in my vision, what is good for another person can all vary. So in the Shastra here, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna defined the two kinds of people. In the Bhagavad Gita here, it says, you want to read this?
O son of Pratha, in this world there are two kinds of created beings. One is called divine and the other demonic. I have already explained to you that at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demonic.
So there are two kinds of people in this material world. One who is the divine and the other one is demonic. In other words, one is devotee and the other one is who works against God, is a demon. Further explain this point. You want to read this also?
There are two classes of men in the created world. One consists of the demonic and the other of the godly. The devotees of the Lord Vishnu are the godly, whereas those who are just the opposite are called demons.
Purport. Please read.
This is a verse from Padma Purana. Vishnu Bhaktas or devotees in Krishna consciousness are known as Devas, demigods. Atheists who do not believe in God or who declare themselves God are Asuras, demons. Asuras always engage in atheistic materialistic activities, exploring ways to utilize the resources of matter to enjoy sense gratification. The Vishnu Bhaktas, Krishna conscious devotees, are also active, but their objective is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service. Superficially, both classes may appear to work in the same way, but their purposes are completely opposite because of a difference in consciousness. Asuras work for personal sense gratification, whereas devotee work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Both work conscientiously, but their motive are different. The motives are different. The Krishna conscious movement is meant for devas or devotees. Demons cannot take part in the Krishna conscious activities, nor can devotees in Krishna conscious take part in demonic activities or work like cats and dogs simply for the sense gratification. Such activity does not appeal to those in Krishna consciousness. Devotee accept only the bare necessities of life to keep themselves fit to act in Krishna consciousness. The balance of their energy is used for developing Krishna consciousness, through which can be transferred to the abode of Krishna by always thinking of him even at the point of death.
So this point is clear here. There are two classes of people. One are the devotees. Devotees means they are devotees of Krishna called Vaishnavas. And the other one are called Asuras or demons. So the demonic mentality is always to create harm. They are interested in their own selves at the expense of harming others. And they don't have any good qualities. You can see some of their qualities are here. This is how the demonic thinks.
Those who are demonic do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them.
So these are their behavior, their character.
They say that this world is unreal. with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Following such conclusions, the demonic, who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world.
Say, these are their qualities. So the demonic, their whole action is not very, what we say, sanely, you know. They are outright bent to do a lot of damage and hurt. So you classify them as bad people. So good people are devotees of Krishna, and uh, their quality is also described here. These are the qualities of the saintly person. So there's 26 good qualities of Vaishnavas. You want to read that?
The following 26 good qualities of a Vaishnava. He is very kind to everyone. He does not make anyone his enemy. He is truthful. He is equal to everyone. No one can find any fault in him. He is magnanimous. He is mild. He is always clean. He is without possessions. He works for he works for everyone's benefit. He is very peaceful. He is always surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desires. He is very meek. He is steady. He controls his senses. He does not eat more than required. He is not influenced by the Lord's illusory energy. He offers respect to everyone. He does not desire any respect for himself. He is very grave. He is merciful. He is friendly. He is poetic. He is expert. He is silent.
So these are all the qualities of a saintly personality. Hmm? Also here, another some qualities I mentioned here also.
The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime.
So these are the person who are devotees of the Lord, you know. So there are two classes. One who is the demonic, who has all demonic qualities. Another one who is the devotee who has all the saintly qualities. Hmm? So someone who is in the saintly qualities, they cannot be influenced by bad things. It's explained here.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "O son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil."
So you can see here, one who does good cannot be put into some kind of evil aspects. Hmm? Because he's under the protection of Krishna. Uh, He's under the protection of Krishna.
He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes.
So someone who's under the purview of the Lord, then how can he get so many bad things happening? Hmm? Yes? Hmm?
Engaged constantly in chanting and hearing about me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities.
So this is the good people that you're talking about, the sadhus. Huh? They do not suffer from material miseries. Hmm? Yes? Correct. So therefore, to say that the body is going to suffering, that's another context. Sometimes the devotees have got some material desires, so to purify them, Krishna makes some kind of a situation so that it looks like he's suffering, but actually it is meant to make him become detached from this material world, you know. Because to go to Krishna, you must give up the attraction of this material world. So to purify the soul or to take that attachment out, it seems like he's giving some kind of bad things. Actually, no, for a devotee, Krishna has another purpose to elevate that soul. But to a non devotee, he cannot see this. He thinks that, oh, he's suffering. Because a devotee, even though he seemingly goes through suffering, he is never shaken. He says here,
Yes.
established thus, he never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. When situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is the actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So the body even is put into difficulty, like so-called, but is never disturbed, because he's always with the Lord. Yeah? Just like Kunti Devi is saying that uh, please give us all these difficulties, because when we have these difficulties, you are also there with us. So in this way, we never saw any miseries, because if you are there, then what's the problem? Hmm? Yes. So therefore, now that every problem is gone, you are going away. Better you give problems so that you will always be with us. You see how the devotees are thinking. Hmm? So the way devotees think is different. The non-devotees, they think that, oh, why good things happening to... They don't know who is good people and bad people. Superficially, someone can be good, but he do not know what he has done in previous life and previous life. Huh? There's karma there involved. You understand? This life he may be innocent, but last life he may have been a big demon. So the reaction comes. Hmm. You follow? But for a devotee who has surrendered to the Lord, there is no karma from the previous life and all that, because he has surrendered to Krishna. His body is considered like spiritual. So when he is put into difficulty, it's only for the purpose of reminding him more about Krishna. That's all. So even if a devotee suffers, it says here in this verse that even if a devotee is facing a lot of problems, his thinking is also different. Hmm? It says here, Tattenu Kampa.
10:48.
10:48. See how a devotee thinks when he is put into difficulty. You want to read that?
My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim.
So this is how the devotee thinks. Understand? There are non-devotees, they think, oh, I'm here for enjoyment. Everything is for my enjoyment. And when there's some problem in the enjoyment, they blame it on God. Whereas the devotee, no. You see, although he is going through some trouble, he thinks this is because of my past mistake. I am suffering. Actually, I'm supposed to suffer more, but the Lord is so kind that he has given me less suffering. He thinks like this. See? So therefore, good things happening to, bad thing happening to good people, the statement has to be, it's not very valid. Because those people who always want to enjoy, they think once I go to God, I should not suffer. But this material world, Krishna already declared this material world is a place of misery. Huh? That's why you have to understand how Krishna is explaining this. Krishna says that this material world is full of mystery. Mam upetya punarjanma dukhalyam. He called this place as dukhalyam ashashvatam. After attaining the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. So this material world here is miserable because everybody has to face these four miseries: birth, death, old age and disease. So it's not a very happy place that we are here. So in this miserable world, you think that we should live happily. That is some concoction. Yeah, it's not going to work. They may have some temporary relief. That may sound like happiness, but actually there's full of suffering here. So a person who is intelligent will understand that the best thing is to take shelter of the Lord. Because the Lord says, okay, I will protect you. Do not fear. So that is actually the good thing one can do. Not that we try to live in a utopian kind of way, thinking that no, now I've taken God and nothing bad will happen to me. Everything good only must come. Huh? And if suppose something bad happens, so what? You will leave God? That means you have no faith. Huh? A person who is lover of God, even bad things come or good things come, is totally sold out to God. If bad thing comes, you blame it on self. Good thing comes, you give credit to God. That's how devotees think. But non-devotee, they think different. They think everything is for his enjoyment. There should not be any kind of interruption for his enjoyment. Huh? Yes. So our perception should change. You follow? So good or bad, the material world here, everything is bad. As Krishna declared, this temporary world is full of miseries. So anyone is intelligent, they will now can understand that here everything is bad. Because of my wrongdoing that I'm put here. I need to get out, wake up and get out of this place. That is the solution. That is the solution. What is that? We should not try to be, thinking that You want to read that?
Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet Brahmaloka down to the lowest planet Patala. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we attain miseries, even though we do not desire them.
What point?
Every man everywhere is trying to obtain the greatest amount of sense enjoyment by various endeavors. Some men are busy engaged in trade, industry, economic development, political supremacy, etc. And some of them are engaged in fruitive work to become happy in the next life by attaining higher planets. It is said that on the moon, the inhabitants are fit for greater sense enjoyment by drinking somras, and the Pitraloka is obtained by good charitable work. So there are various programs for sense enjoyment, either during this life or in the next life after death. Some are trying to reach the moon or the other planets by some mechanical arrangement, for they are very. Don't scroll down. For they are very anxious to get into such planets without doing good work. But it is not to happen. By the law of the Supreme, every different places are meant for different grades of living beings according to the work they have performed. By good work only, as prescribed in the scriptures, can one obtain birth in a good family, opulence, good education, and good bodily features. We see also that even in this life one obtains a good education or money by good work. Similarly, in our next birth we get such desirable positions only by good work. Otherwise it would not it would not so happen that two persons born in the same place at the same time are seen differently placed according to previous work. But all such material positions are impermanent. The position in the topmost Brahmaloka and in the lowest Patala are also changeable due to their own work. The philosophically inclined persons must not be tempted by such changeable positions. He should try to get into the permanent life of bliss and knowledge, where he will not be forced to come back again to the miserable material world, either in this or that planet. Miseries are mixed. Miseries and mixed happiness are two features of material life, and they are obtained in Brahmaloka and in the lokas also, in other lokas also. They are obtained in the life of demigods and also in the life of dogs and hawks. The miseries or mixed happiness of all living beings are only of different degree and quality, but no one is free from the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Similarly, everyone has his destined happiness also. No one can get more or less of these things simply by personal endeavors. Even if they are obtained, they can be lost again. One should not, therefore, waste time with these flimsy things. One should only endeavor to go back to Godhead. That should be the mission of everyone's life.
So you see, this should be the understanding. This material world is not a place for trying to enjoy it. It's always miseries here. So to think here as something good, something bad, it is some kind of illusion. Therefore, it is explained here also in this verse. Something good, something bad.
4176.
Anyone else want to read? Help read?
In the material world, conception of good and bad are all mental speculations. Therefore, saying this is good and this is bad is all a mistake. purport. Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, is a absolute truth, ever existing with different varieties of energies. When one is observed in the illusory energy of Krishna and cannot understand Krishna, one cannot ascertain what is good for him and what is bad. Conceptions of good and bad are all imaginations or mental speculations. When one forgets that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he wants to enjoy the material world through different plans. At the time, he distinguishes between material plans that are good and those that are bad. Actually, however, they are all false.
Yes. Hmm. Therefore, nothing, nothing good in this material world. Everything you do eventually will fail, you know.
A purified soul should see that because the conditioned souls who are dedicated to sense gratifications have falsely accepted the objects of sense pleasure as truth, all of their endeavors are doomed to failure.
Hmm. So the moment you try to think that you can enjoy this material world, that itself is an illusion. Because everything you try to do will eventually end as failure. Because you're going to die anyway. So therefore, trying to chase for so-called happiness in the material world, thinking that, you know, I should get some good things, this is an illusion, you know.
In this material world, every materialistic desires to achieve happiness and diminish his distress, and therefore he acts accordingly. Actually, however, one is happy as long as one does not endure for happiness. As long as one begins his activities for happiness, his conditions of distress begins. Nice verse.
Purport.
Every conditioned soul is bound by the laws of material nature, as described in Bhagavad Gita, Prakriti Kriyamanani Gunaihi Karmani Sarvasaha. Bhagavad Gita 3:27. Everyone has achieved a certain type of body given by material nature according to the instruction of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Atishati Brahmanam Sarvabhutani Yantrarudani Maya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and he is directing the wandering of all living entities who are seated as on a mission made of material energy. Bhagavad Gita 1861. The Supreme Personal Godhead, the Super Soul, is present in everyone's heart, and as the living entity desires, the Lord gives him facilities with which to work according to his ambitions in different grades of bodies. The body is just like an instrument by which the living entity moves according to the false desires for happiness and thus suffers the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease in different standards of life. Everyone begins his activities with some plan and ambition, but actually, from the beginning of one's plan to the end, one does not derive any happiness. On the contrary, as soon as one begins acting according to his plan, his life of distress immediately begins. Therefore, one should not be ambitious to dissipate the unhappy conditions of life, for one cannot do anything about them. Ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Bhagavad Gita 3:27. Although one is acting according to false ambitions, he thinks he can improve his material conditions by his activities. The Vedas enjoin that one should not try to increase happiness or decrease distress, for this is futile. Taseva heto priyate takovitaha. One should work for self-satisfaction, self-realization, not for economic development, which is impossible to improve. Without endure, one can get any amount of happiness and distress for which he is destined, and one cannot change this. Therefore, it is better to use one's time for advancement in spiritual life of Krishna consciousness. One should not waste his valuable time as a human being. It is better to utilize this life for developing Krishna consciousness without ambitions for so-called happiness.
So this should be the mood of a person, understanding what we are here now. We are now all God. And if we try to enjoy, thinking that, oh, I should only get all good things to enjoy, then actually, while trying to enjoy the senses, we will do sinful activities. It's explained here, the Indriya Ramo, when we try to enjoy the senses,
My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas suddenly leads a life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain.
So if you are going to do this, that means you're not going to work against the principle laid out by God, then you will be implicated in sinful life. Whereas for those people who are following the rules according to God, then they will not become implicated. In fact, Krishna already declared, for them I protect them. So there's two different things altogether. So a person who lives in vain, that means his life is going to be terrible. It says here, one who lives in vain. Can you read on?
Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to the sense enjoyment and fall down into hell.
So this is the end result of those who are demonic. But for the devotee, even he does some mistake, he is protected.
Considering all these points, therefore, intelligent men decide to solve all problems by adopting devotional service of chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart and uh, who is a mind of all auspicious qualities. Such persons are not within the jurisdiction of punishment. Generally, they never commit sinful activities, but even by mistake or because of bewilderment or illusion, they sometimes commit sinful acts. They are protected from the sinful reactions because they always chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
So this is a different position altogether, devotees. So you see, this statement that is saying that why good things happen, bad things happen to good people, it's a very misleading statement. Because everyone thinks that if someone is morally upright and all that means good. No, in the what we say, the direction of the Shastra, unless he's a devotee of Krishna, is not considered a good person. You understand? You can see here, it is stated here. It says here,
All demigods and the exalted qualities such as religion, knowledge, renunciation become manifested in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personal Godhead Vasudeva. On the other hand, person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept of the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor for maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man?
this is the what do we say? The criteria in determining who is good, who is bad. So unless a person is a devotee of Krishna, that he cannot have, is not labeled as a good person. Anyone is working in the mode of passion and ignorance is considered demonic. And bad thing happening to a good person, As under the protection of Krishna, then how can he will get into that situation? Krishna say, my devotee I protect. Hmm? So this kind of statement they are making just to bewilder, Even you do good also, bad thing happening to you anyway. So what's the point you do any good work? Huh? Someone who's not doing good thing, he's bad person, but he's always having good things coming to him. What kind of statement is that? Yeah? They're simply throwing out words with no backing of scriptural evidences. Even Krishna himself is saying, my devotee will not perish, means what? And word of God will be false? Hmm? There's no in the history of the whole Shastra that a devotee, got into some real trouble and he was finished. No. There is no such evidences. In fact, Arjuna is saying, because I have surrendered to you, all these generals who are fighting, they could not even touch my hair also. What is that verse? Touch the hair on my head, 115 something.
115:16.
Yeah, 115:16. Can read this?
Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Bhurishwara, Susharma, Salya, Jayatratha, and Baklika all directed their invincible weapons against me, but by his Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head, just as the demons could not affect Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Narasimha Deva, with the weapon they used against him.
So you see this point. But by his grace, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. I'm sure you must have read the Mahabharata, how the Pandavas, they went through so many trouble, but their faith in Krishna never diminished. Although they were put into so many difficulties, of course, this is the arrangement by the Lord. But devotee, in fact, one of the prayers of the devotee is that either you embrace me or you make me broken-hearted by not being present before me. You are still my worshipable Lord unconditionally. So that is love, Love doesn't mean that only when good things happen you love, when bad things come you don't love. That does not make any, that is not this condition. So loving God should be unconditioned. Whatever condition, you are my Lord, through and through. That is to show our devotion to the Lord, You follow? That's why the gopis, they are very great devotees of Krishna. Although he left them, but their love for him never diminished, That's why he said, I cannot repay you for your loving for your loving attributes to me. So this is the of course the higher extent of it, But people who are not devotees, they want to use God. So they go to God and say, okay, I'm good, you must make my life good, so that I don't suffer and all that. And if suffering comes, then you know my God. So this is not devotion, this is trying to use God, You follow? So therefore, we should learn how to correct this kind of understanding. So loving God should be undivided and unmotivated, And what is that? One suprasiddhi, yayatma suprasidhati.
126. 126.
126. So this should be the motive of loving God. Savai pumso paro dharmo yato bhaktya jokchade. Hai tu kya pratihata yayatma suprasidhati. Please read.
The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving service, loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self.
Unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. That's service to God, that constitute real love. And of course, the Lord promises that He will protect the devotee. That is something the Lord takes care. But the devotees are not bothered. Even you see here, what is that verse? Going to hell. Vibhayati Narayana Paraha Sarve.
Na kutachana
Oh,
bibhyati.
17, 28.
17:28.
Yeah.
See how the devotees think, Narayana Paraha Sarve Na Kutashna Vibhayati Swarga Apavarga Narke Swa Api Tulyartas Darshinaha.
The devotees solely engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana never fear any condition of life from them. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. But such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord.
This is how it is. They don't want, even the Lord offers, they don't want also. They are not motivated. They want the, big palace, or if you don't give me, then yes, I don't like you. No. You see how they think, you see, the Lord is saying.
Everything that can be achieved by fruitive activities, penance, knowledge, detachment, and mystic yoga, charity, religious duties, and all other means of perfecting life is easily achieved by my devotee through loving service unto me. If somehow or other my devotee desires promotion to heaven, liberation, or residence in my abode, easily achieve such benedictions.
So everything the devotee gets. Huh? And what about this puny little happiness in the material world? But the devotees, they're not interested. See how they think.
Because my devotees possess saintly behavior and deep intelligence, they completely dedicate themselves to me and do not desire anything besides me. Indeed, even if I offer them liberation from birth and death, they do not accept it.
See that? They don't want, they only want God, Krishna. Even if they have to go through so much suffering, and that suffering gives pleasure to the Lord, they will do it. You understand? If Krishna is going to be happy by my suffering, then I want to suffer. That's how they think. But the non-devotee, he is thinking, no, I am praying to God, I should not suffer. There's two different angles of vision, no? Understanding. One is self-centered, and the other one is love for God, Of course, that platform is very high. Just like Kunti Devi is saying, I want suffering. Because when I get suffering, you're always with us. So you be with us, I want suffering. You see how they're thinking? Non-devotees, oh, I should not suffer. If I'm suffering, means God is bogus. This God is not good God. Can you imagine the different kind of angles of understanding? So therefore, if you want to understand God, you must go through the devotees. Then you will know. They are not bothered. You want to give me suffering or you want to give me this, I am not bothered. I only want you, my Lord. I don't care. Even I go to heaven or hell, I don't care. All right. So I think this answers the question, right? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.